What just happened with the Hyliion stock? This video will be a must-to-see video for anyone holding Hyliion or even just considering jumping in. Hyliion stock spiked to 40% on a single news in a matter of 2 hours. If it sounds crazy, it is nothing compared to what is coming. And as I said in this video that I'm working on some unique video, why I think that Hyliion has the best technology for class 8 trucks among them all, and why hydrogen, even electric trucks are way behind. And since Hyliion just announced an upgrade of their technology, this is the best opportunity to actually make a big video about Hyliion. So first of all, I want to cheer up every Hyliion holder. Your resilience to anyone doubting this stock is surprising. Some Hyliion investors that watch this channel even started to question me, and meanwhile I was quietly just buying more shares. Now let's talk about what happened. On 11th of February, the news popped out that Hyliion introduced a next generation battery module to improve performance and efficiency. And now here's something what you need to understand. Hyliion is not trying to build the whole new truck. Imagine it as they would instead try to take as much of an existing parts from a big OEMs, even the ones that are enabling trucks to actually become electric. And then they focus on this electrified powertrain that is making an EV truck, well, electric truck. Hyliion is only focusing on those few disruptive parts of the truck, and one of them is battery packing. In fact, in 2018, Hyliion announced that they bought this technology as the best available solution for the trucking industry. Since then, it became their proprietary solution that is being focused purely on long-haul trucks, unlike any other competitors like Tesla and Nikola that is actually trying to fit their battery solution to a multiple uses. For example, their SUVs. And because of their narrow focus, Hyliion focus on vehicles and the fraction of truck parts that they are developing under their operations, it's actually not that surprising that they created a better battery. It is not in fact a battery rather than a battery module. They basically buy Toshiba's batteries and then they design them into the best possible module for a long-haul truck. So this is one of the parts that are actually proprietary for Hyliion, and this is why it is such a big news. With the new solution, they expect a 40% improvement in cooling compared to the previous system. That will lead to longer lifetime. Hyliion is capable up to 5 times as much life cycle as conventional EV battery. And the second, higher charging rates that I personally believe leads to more output, which means more power to the truck and faster charging speed, where I quote, the battery can be recharged in under 8 minutes. That is something compared to Tesla that they claim that they can achieve 80% charge in 30 minutes. So obviously that semi-truck will have more batteries, so that should take more time. But I believe that they are in a multiple parallel modules, so that can charge at the same time. I'm not an engineer, so don't sue me, but it sounds like Hyliion actually at this point can be charged faster. And if you are asking yourself, but what about the range? Well, you probably forgot that you are talking about Hyliion. The range of the batteries does not matter because the main range is driven by the RNG, and it is up to 1,300 miles compared to Tesla 500 miles that comes from the batteries. And in case you're wondering, the pure battery range of ERX Hypertruck is projected to be 25 miles purely on a battery. So this is basically the news why Hyliion stock soared about 40% in just 2 hours. This is just proving how much power and attention actually this stock has. Just imagine that they would announce something like 1,000 trucks retrofits for Amazon. I'm confident that we would see a 2x in not more than a matter of just minutes. And now the interesting part, we are going to see orders in the future. We don't know how many, we don't know from whom, but we are going to see orders. And they are going to really pump the stock. It is just a question of time. And if you thought that you heard the best, there is more. I want to get to my previous planned video where I actually wanted to talk about why it is a huge mistake not to have a good chunk of this stock in your portfolio. I would like to introduce you to my observation that I was preparing for some time, probably a few weeks, why I think that Hyliion has a superior technology compared to Tesla and Nikola, and why they will win this battle of billion-dollar giants. And before we start, understand that this is just my opinion, not an investment advice. So always make sure that you do a fact check before you risk your own money. But I do put my money behind that. So let me jump right into the fire. We have 4 solutions: diesel, hydrogen, electric, and RNG. And I think I don't have to explain why diesel is no longer an option. If you don't know why, I made a whole video about it. Go check that out. Now, why we won't see a mass adoption of hydrogen trucks, and if so, it will be in 15 years. Reason number 1, hydrogen is currently 10 times more costly compared to the natural gas. In order to make it cheaper, we simply have to produce more. We will not produce more if there are not trucks that can operate hydrogen. So we are in this weird what is first, chicken or egg problem. If we will see a gradual adoption of this technology, we might see just 9 times expensive hydrogen the next year. We would see then the 8 times expensive hydrogen the next year, and so on and so on. You get the point. So approximately, this is just a huge guess, we will see hydrogen at the same level as natural gas, let's say in 10 years. That is a long time. So here's the second reason. 90% of all hydrogen is coming from a steam methane reforming, which is more pollutive than operating a diesel truck. So that technology has to change into electrolysis in the first place to make this actually a sustainable option. So today, hydrogen is actually not a sustainable option. Now here is the third reason why we won't see hydrogen trucks as a viable option in the next 10 to 15 years. And now this is pretty obvious, but we basically have 0 hydrogen stations. Let's talk about what it will actually take to build more of them. So imagine if you, as fleets today, want to buy a hydrogen truck. You either have to be in the range of that station for hydrogen that is mostly doesn't exist for you, or you have to get yourself one near you. Okay, so that's not a problem. That has been done before. But then you have to think how this technology limits where you can deliver. Suddenly, this solution works mainly for the companies that actually are delivering into A, B, fixed location. So this actually is a huge limitation. So the way I wanted to think about it is that what could be 100% total addressable market for hydrogen in the US actually shrinks into maybe, let's say, like 5% addressable market of companies that are willing to limit their operations by sustainability goals. And I'm telling you, they're not going to be limited. They're looking for an actual solution that can match their current solution, but at the same time being sustainable. And on the other hand, we have these 1,000 CNG stations. And while I believe that there are not that many long-haul electric truck chargers, after Biden that agreed to build 500,000 new EV stations, I believe adding a few more plugs on those stations for EV trucks is actually not a huge deal. So hydrogen is way behind to electric and CNG. And now the final 4th reason. And this one is a real trouble. Scania, the Volkswagen-owned heavy-duty vehicle manufacturer, which has produced both battery and hydrogen trucks, has concluded that hydrogen will be too inefficient and expensive for long-distance transport. And now I quote, Scania has invested in hydrogen technologies and is currently the only heavy-duty vehicle manufacturer with vehicles in operations with the customers. However, going forward to use hydrogen for such applications will be limited, since 3 times as much renewable electricity is needed to power a hydrogen truck compared to a battery electric truck. A great deal of energy is namely lost in the production, distribution, and conversion back to electricity. End of quote. So this company that was heavily investing in hydrogen and electric trucks decided to go with electric trucks. And now, by the way, if you are asking how that goes to go with electric trucks, well, they have an electric vehicle truck with range up to 250 kilometers. That is just showing how far Hyliion is with this technology and with this range, 1,300 miles compared to 250 kilometers. So the price of hydrogen, the sustainability, and lack of infrastructure and the possible lack of effectivity, I see, maybe demos happening. I see maybe 100 of hydrogen trucks, maybe 1,000 in 10 years from now. But to see a 10,000, I just don't see it. And now we are going to talk about electric heavy trucks, the third option of them all. Now we are talking, so reason number one why electric trucks and heavy trucks, that is very important, are not the best solution. Lithium batteries are just as bad, if not worse, as if we would drive a diesel trucks. From this article, you will take away that most supply of batteries will come from places like China, Thailand, Germany, and Poland that rely on non-renewable sources like coal for electricity. So logic here is that making one car with the batteries is almost the same as manufacturing 2 cars of diesel in order of carbon footprint. Obviously, driving an EV is more sustainable than to drive a diesel car. But I think about that 2-to-1 ratio upfront carbon footprint costs. This ratio is, by the way, for the sport utility cars. I believe with the long-haul trucks, we are going to talk about 10-to-1 ratio of a carbon footprint of EV versus the diesel heavy truck. So that is a huge upfront cost, 10-to-1. And keep in mind that actually Hyliion is having just a fraction of batteries on their vehicle because they are recharging. They do have a much smaller impact carbon footprint because they create less of a batteries with each truck. So all of that is cool to know, but when it comes down to price, let's not pretend all these companies want to save the planet and not to actually make money. So here are the costs of Tesla semi-truck. It will be approximately $200,000, around the same as Hyliion ERX solution for $220,000. So where is the catch? This is what Elon Musk said on their semi-truck production. And now I quote, "If we were to make semi, like right now, which we could easily go into production with the semi, but we would not have enough cells. We would have to supply cells ourselves for the semi when we are producing the 4,680 in volume. But for example, semi would use typically 5 times the number of cells that a car would use, but it would not sell for 5 times what a car would sell for. So it would not make a sense for us to do the semi right now, but it will absolutely make sense for us to do as soon as we can address the cell production constraint." End of quote. In other words, they have only so much batteries capacity, and it is much more profitable to sell SUVs rather than Tesla semi. That means 2 things. The price of semi-trucks is not as profitable as to sell 5 Tesla SUVs. Tesla is busy making cars, not trucks. So while Tesla is working on their gigafactories to reduce these battery production limitations, we might see yet another Tesla semi-truck delay. Tesla doesn't have to push their semi-truck since they have to compete with all these SUV market. Elon Musk said indirectly that EV semi-trucks are not as effective today, so they would start to manufacture them. And this is massive for Hyliion because it gives them more time to actually develop their technology. And really, if you want to hear more about Hyliion technology, I think you will just have to go through all the older videos, but it's definitely worth it. Just read about it. It makes so much more sense to actually operate RNG. I'm not saying that this is the future in the next 15 years, but it is definitely the future in the next 2, 5, maybe 10 years. And then it will always come down to whether the hydrogen will actually take a place, but at that time Hyliion will be already ready with their trucks. They can just switch like that to the hydrogen, and they will have a lot of data with all their trucks on the way. They can actually hit the revenue before Nikola, and that will actually relieve the pressure from the stock. And I will leave it with that. Join us on Patreon and Discord. We have a special section dedicated for Hyliion. I also invest in specs, and I built a mega sheet to see all the important information about specs. Link is in the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I'm heavy on specs and also on Hyliion, so my content is mostly wrapped around that. With that, stay one step ahead, and see you guys next time.